Shalom Israel. All praises, honor, and glory goes to Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai. Yahweh being who the world ignorantly calls God. Yahweh Shai being his son, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. And there's no God beside him. Double honors to the elder apostles and the elder bishops of Great Millstone for being faithful witnesses to the Holy Spirit. Salutations to the elect, whom the Lord hath given ears to hear.
Language they once rejected blinked. After years of slogans, sanctions, and scripted outrage, the continent's biggest capitals are quietly changing tone. Berlin, Paris, and Rome are now speaking the language they once rejected. Realism. The message is simple and unavoidable. Russia is not an external problem to be managed, it is Europe itself. And ignoring the truth has pushed the European project to the edge. Friedrich Merz has said aloud what Europe's power centers have been thinking in private. Peace, balance, and stability on the continent cannot exist without Russia. Not around Russia, not against Russia, with Russia. This is not ideological surrender. It is strategic survival. Europe has learned that confrontation delivers costs, not control.
Finally, also again with our largest European neighbor, namely with Russia. And I do not say this because I am here in the East. I say this at every other place in Germany as well. Russia is a European country. If it then succeeds for us, in the longer perspective, to find a reconciliation with Russia again, if peace prevails, if freedom is guaranteed, if all this succeeds for us, ladies and gentlemen, then this European Union, then we also in the Federal Republic of Germany have passed another test of endurance, and then we can also look forward beyond the year 2026 with great confidence. I wish us that. I am sure that it will succeed. Contribute to it. I wish you and us much success as well.
What changed? Reality. Sanctions did not isolate Moscow. Proxy pressure did not bend Russia. Energy shocks, industrial decline, and political fragmentation hit Europe instead. The Atlantic script promised dominance. It delivered dependency. Now European leaders are recalculating, not out of sympathy, but out of necessity. Paris and Rome are aligned with Berlin's reassessment. Compromise.
And the irony of it all is how they got created was due to the so-called the so-called aggression of Russia, in which they felt like, they go in league with America and now they're safe. But like I said, the irony of it is that the one who they choose as their leader, their safe haven, so to speak, is the one who's causing them the most pain, right? And pretty much Russia is turning out to be a hedge, a pillar of peace, so to speak, which we'll see in the coming months how things turn out. They're also speaking on how Trump is planning on putting tariffs on various EU nations. So the spirit is in the air of division. All right, the spirit is in the air of division. Well, as the scriptures say, when Yahweh Shah returns, he's coming to bring a sword. Okay. When Yahweh Shah returns, nations are actually going to be fighting one another. EU or America's allies being on the side of Russia going against America. You see, so the Lord is slowly but surely turning this world right side up for our benefit. Right? We need war to happen. All right, for our Lord and Savior Yahweh Shai to return, for us to be delivered. We know the end is not yet, so we keep our eyes, we keep watch. But this is definitely a major prophecy, or this is leading to a major prophecy, I would say. Revelation 17 and 16. So let's keep going.
Is no longer a taboo word. Partnership is no longer treated as weakness. Europe's core states are rediscovering a basic geopolitical truth. Lasting security is built through accommodation with neighbors, not permanent confrontation engineered from afar.
So, hey, one looks like they bring peace while the other is guaranteed to bring war. War costs. Even
NATO's former steward is acknowledging the cracks. Jens Stoltenberg's call for dialogue with Moscow is not a rhetorical flourish. It is an admission that escalation has limits.
Hey, and I'm sure they've seen the cracks. They've seen the issues dealing with America. But now they have the spirit to react on it. And that lets you know we are in a deeper point of prophecy. Okay? Yahushua did tell us, there shall be wars and rumors of wars. Be not troubled, for the end is not yet. All right? But we're going to go from a point to a rumor of war to an actual war.
His warning that the United States could walk away exposes a reality Europe tried to ignore. Washington's priorities are not Europe's destiny. This shift also exposes the strategic hollowness of Europe's loudest hawks. While some Eastern voices still push rigid alignment and permanent alarm, Europe's major economies are preparing for a post-illusion era. Decisions are moving from emotion to endurance, from posture to pragmatism. Europe is not choosing sides, it is choosing continuity. Engagement with Russia is not about rewriting the past, but about securing the future. As alliances strain and old certainties fade, one conclusion is settling in across European capitals.
And that's prophesied. It is written in the book of Ezekiel 38 that Ezekiel 38 and 4. And this is in regards to Russia being the land of God. And I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and will bring thee forth. And all thy enemy horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with buckler and shields, all of them handling swords. Persia, Ethiopia, Libya with them, all of them with shield and helmet. So as we read through, there will be a time where alliances will be made. Again, going from rumors of war to actual war. All right? Because in the world of geopolitics, you don't make alliances unless it was beneficial. It was beneficial to one another. Right? So it says Persia, Ethiopia, and then verse 6 it says Gomer and all his bands. So let's look something up. Because Gomer being Turkey, all right, and it says Gomer and all its armies will join you, along with the armies of Beth Togarmah from the distant north, and many others. And we know Turkey being part of, was it Turkey being a part of NATO, or if not mistaken. Maybe it's both. Oh, okay, Turkey being a part of NATO. Okay, right. And we know NATO is in alliance with America. America is part of NATO, right? So there will be a time again when America's allies will join themselves with America's enemies. And we're reaching that point. There was another one I want to play. And you brothers and sisters can check this out. This is pretty much so I'm playing the video form. I just played the video form of this article on RT News entitled RT, Why Are EU Leaders Suddenly Being Nice to Russia?
Germany. Hello, my friend. Мы не собираем.
Under Trump, America is on the brink of becoming. Under Trump, America is on the brink of becoming the enemy, not our most important ally. Europe and Canada will need to start preparing for a NATO without America. For all of my life, Russia has tried to decouple Europe from America and break the North Atlantic Alliance. It never succeeded. Instead, it lost the Cold War, leaving NATO more powerful than ever. But now success is staring the Kremlin in the face, all thanks to Donald Trump.
Yeah, and I found this one interesting. I actually wasn't gonna play it, but it's interesting because again, you had to ask yourself why now would these various EU nations consider being friendly to Russia. They're scared and they see a success. Like the saying goes, the lesser of the two evils. Not only that, they see a success with Russia overtaking Ukraine. Which they're saying, it's only a matter of time before they spill over into Europe. So let's go to the next one.
Here are three options being considered by the EU to retaliate against President Trump over his decision to impose tariffs on 8 European countries, including the UK, because of the ongoing spat over Trump's desire to own Greenland. First, it could trigger the anti-coercion instrument. Now, this is a complex law that was designed to be used against states considered hostile to the Europeans, particularly China. Certainly not against an historical ally like the United States. But the unthinkable is now being seriously considered, particularly by the French President Emmanuel Macron. It would allow Europe to impose tariffs against America. It would also limit American companies' access to the free market and its ability to invest in Europe. It would have severe economic impacts for the United States, and it would almost certainly trigger a backlash from Washington. Secondly, they could delay the ratification of the EU-US trade deal that was agreed last summer. Yes, that would also have an economic impact on European countries, but it would have an impact on the Americans as well. The EU might feel now that it is in a strong position to do this. This weekend, they agreed a free trade agreement with some major South American countries. It is a huge trade deal that collectively covers around 30% of the world's GDP and 700 million consumers. And so the European leaders might feel that they are now on strong ground, and this is a route that they can go down without too much negative impact on their own states. Thirdly, there is diplomacy. It hasn't worked so far. There is now a realization here in Brussels that Donald Trump is serious when he says he wants to own Greenland. Talking to him has not worked so far. However, there is an opportunity coming up this week. The World Economic Forum begins in Davos. President Trump will be there, so too will the NATO Secretary General and many of Europe's major leaders. It'll be a chance to speak to the US President face to face, to be in the same room with him. But European leaders will want to go there able to wield a stick. And so that gives them very little time to agree a set of united measures in order that they can present them to Donald Trump and hope that he will climb down the ladder. Either way, this is becoming a transatlantic crisis, the like of which we haven't seen in generations.
Yeah, it's a new time. It's a new world we living in. You know, Yahweh Shai, as it's written, he's mustering, the minds of the people. Eventually, they're just going to have to duke it out or nuke it out. But, hey, it's some serious times. We're in some serious times, but, let me grab this, Sirach 22 and 22. Start at 20. Whoso casteth a stone at the birds frayeth them. He that upbraideth his friend breaketh friendship. Under Trump, friends are being upbraided. The word upbraideth meaning to severely scold, reproach, criticize, or censure someone for a fault, often with sense of disappointment or harshness. It's frequently found in older texts like King James Bible as in God upbraideth not. Okay, and we see under Trump, these other nations are being upbraided. One thing that, it comes to mind is Trump forcing, these EU nations, or was it I always get it confused, EU or NATO, to pretty much come up with more money. Let's look it up. Trump. So it says, yes, President Trump has been publicly pushing NATO members, especially European ones, to spend more on defense, and this has been a prominent part of U.S. diplomacy with the alliance in 2025 and 2026. Oh, that's another thing. Yeah, tariff threats. So I'm looking into it. It says some allies see the 5% goal as ambitious and politically challenging. Other European leaders have pushed back against tariff threats or coercive rhetoric tied to NATO and unrelated issues. E.g., example given, Greenland negotiations. So it says, practically speaking, the alliance agreed in principle to a much higher target, but that would take many years to implement and is politically contentious. In a way, America is pushing war. Let's believe Trump is going to get very impatient. The U.S. strategy is framed as equalizing the defense burden so Europe invests more in its own defense, especially given ongoing conflicts like Russia's invasion of Ukraine and broader security concerns. But it says, and he that upbraideth his friend breaketh friendship. That word upbraid, it said what? Scorn, basically. To reproach, scold. Has Trump Let's see what comes up. Okay, well, yeah, that's an upgrade. Yep. What's going on over in Greenland? European countries, unless they agree to U.S. control or sale of Greenland, which Europeans strongly oppose. European leaders, including the UK's Keir Starmer, publicly rebuked the tariff threat and warned it could harm NATO unity. The White House even suggested that military options in Greenland are always an option, which European officials reject. These moves have been interpreted by allies as coercive or confrontational, not just friendly pressure. So it says allies' reactions, right, to everything that's going on have ranged from cautious to sharp, strong verbal pushback. Officials warning strong verbal pushback from leaders insisting Greenland's future is for Denmark's alone. Officials warning that coercive attacks could undermine NATO and trust among allies. Some NATO diplomats emphasizing unity and continuing cooperation despite tensions. So it says, in short, this has gone beyond the typical strong-arming allies to pay more into diplomatic tensions involving trade and sovereign issues. Okay, but it's not, as I said, it's not an outright termination of the pact, not just yet, at least. Reading on Sirach 22, though thou dressest a sword, though thou drewest a sword at thy friend, yet despair not, for there may be a returning to favor. If thou hast opened thy mouth against thy friend, fear not, for there may be a reconciliation, except for upbraiding or pride or disclosing of secrets or a treacherous wound. For these things every friend will depart. So something's going to happen that, like it says in Obadiah, the 6th verse, I believe it's 6, where it says, they that have eaten thy bread have laid a wound under thee. Okay. Revelation 17 and 16. We're coming into that time. Start at verse 12. We'll read that and end it off there. Hey, call hello to Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai for the times we're living in. For giving us eyes and ears to see that His words is true. The understanding of what we're reading, that is, Revelation 17 and 12. Revelation not Revelations, Salakia. Revelation 17 and 12. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. So this is talking about where the EU has received power 1 hour with the beast being America. These have one mind and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. Right? So supposedly, that's today, where they joined an alliance. They gave their strength unto the beast, their head being what? America. All right, which is spiritual Rome. All right, now 1 hour goes into 41.66 years, which they've been in alliance long, or at least 20 years past that. So, in other words, this place is on borrowed time. These have one mind and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them. For he is the Lord of lords and King of kings, and they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful. So the Lamb being Yahushua is going to come back while they're fighting one another, and he's going to overcome them. All right, and again, even prior to his return, he's going to cause division. So we know that war is imminent, World War III is imminent, and we know who's pulling the strings, Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua. And he saith unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. Right? To whereas before they agreed that she will rule over them. Right? Now there will be a time where they come together against her. All right? So we see in Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai bring his words to pass. Proverbs 21 and 1. The king's heart is like a stream of water directed by Yahweh. He guides it wherever he pleases. Shalom to the elect.